Imagine walking into a minimalist clothing store. Clean walls, soft lighting, quiet music. On a wooden table lie two perfectly folded white t-shirts. Same fabric, same cut, same stitching. They were likely sewn in the same factory by the same hands. One has a boring generic tag and costs $12. The other has a tiny red rectangle stitched on the chest and costs $480. Every economics teacher you ever had would tell you the answer is obvious. A rational person buys the $12 shirt, pockets the difference, and maybe treats themselves to lunch. Price goes up, demand goes down. That's economics 101. That's the law of demand. That's how markets are supposed to work. And yet, we all know what actually happens. The expensive shirt sells out in minutes. People line up overnight. Resellers flip it online for double. The $12 shirt sits untouched, gathering dust like it committed some kind of moral failure by being affordable. Even more absurd, if the brand dropped the price of the $480 shirt to $40, demand would collapse. Nobody would want it anymore. The desire exists precisely because the price is insane. This isn't a market failure, it's a human one. This strange inversion of logic has a name, the Veblen paradox, and it quietly drains bank accounts, destroys long-term wealth, and keeps millions of people stuck pretending to be rich instead of actually becoming wealthy. I'm your couch economist, and today we're dissecting why we buy things that sabotage our future just to signal something to people who aren't even paying attention. If you've ever felt the magnetic pull to buy something you couldn't comfortably afford just to prove that you could, this video is for you. Because today we're unpacking the psychology of status, insecurity, and the expensive theater we call success. To understand this, we need to go back more than a century. In 1899, a grumpy, sharp-eyed economist named Thorstein Veblen looked around at American society during the Gilded Age, the era of Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, and obscene excess, and realized something was deeply wrong with traditional economic theory. Economists believed humans were utility maximizers. We buy coats to stay warm, cars to get to work, homes for shelter. Logical, clean, efficient. But Veblen noticed people buying silverware too heavy to eat with, mansions with rooms no one ever entered, and clothing designed to make movement difficult. These purchases weren't about usefulness, they were about display. Veblen coined the term conspicuous consumption, the act of publicly wasting resources to signal status. In a hierarchical society, the fastest way to prove your high status isn't to be efficient, it's to be inefficient in public. If you can afford waste, you must be powerful. That's why a $15 Casio tells time just as well as a $40,000 mechanical watch. Yet only one of them gets noticed. When someone wears a watch worth more than a car, they're sending a clear message to the tribe. I have so many resources that I can afford to burn them and still be fine. This is the engine behind the Veblen paradox. To understand this, we need to go back more than a century. For normal goods, price is a barrier. It's the pain you endure to access the product, but for Veblen goods, price is the feature. The suffering is the point. The exclusion is the value. If Rolex suddenly optimized for efficiency and sold watches for $300, they wouldn't sell more units. They would destroy the brand overnight. The moment a Rolex becomes accessible to everyone, it becomes meaningless to the people who buy it for status. The gears don't matter. The craftsmanship doesn't matter. The value lives in who can't have it. This creates an upside-down demand curve. Higher prices increase desire, scarcity increases obsession, exclusivity becomes addictive. It's a feedback loop completely detached from material reality. But here's where the story turns dark, because this game isn't equally harmful to everyone. When a billionaire buys a $300,000 car, it's financial noise, a rounding error. It doesn't touch their ability to compound wealth. Their capital continues working quietly in the background, but the middle class looks up and imitates. This is what Veblen called pecuniary emulation, copying the consumption patterns of people above you on the social ladder. You buy the luxury car, the designer bag, the newest phone, not because they improve your life, but because you're afraid of what it means if you don't. You finance the appearance of success by dismantling the machinery that creates real success. Stocks get skipped. Retirement contributions shrink. Emergency funds disappear. Assets are traded for liabilities, all to broadcast a signal to strangers who are just as insecure. You're not buying the object, you're renting an identity, and this impulse isn't random, it's ancient. For millions of years, humans survived in tribes where status meant access to food, mates, and protection. High status increased survival odds. Our brains are wired to chase it. The peacock is the perfect metaphor. That massive, colorful tail makes it slower, heavier, easier to kill, and yet it exists because it signals genetic strength. If I can survive despite this handicap, imagine how strong I must be. Conspicuous consumption is the human peacock tail. We buy houses bigger than we need, cars that constantly break, and luxury items that add stress instead of comfort, all to signal fitness to the tribe. We handicap our financial survival to prove that we're survivors. In the modern world, this instinct has been hijacked by marketing teams who understand your psychology better than you do. They manufacture scarcity, they create waiting lists, they force you to qualify for the privilege of overpaying. Hermes doesn't sell Birkin bags. They sell humiliation wrapped in leather. You must buy enough other products to earn the right to spend $10,000. And the goalpost never stops moving. Veblen described a treadmill of consumption. Once the middle class stretches to afford entry-level luxury, the elites move on. Logos become tacky. Status goes quiet. Quiet luxury replaces loud branding. $500 hats with no logos. $3,000 sweaters that look like Walmart clearance. You are chasing people who aren't running. The cruel irony is that the harder you try to look rich, the more you guarantee that you never will be. Overspending and underinvesting are the exact behaviors that keep you trapped. So how do you escape? You opt out. In the 21st century, real status isn't stuff. It's freedom. The person driving a 12-year-old Toyota with a paid-off house, no debt, and the ability to walk away from a job tomorrow has infinitely more status than someone in a brand-new Range Rover, living paycheck to paycheck. True wealth is invisible. It's the vacations you could take but don't need to post. The upgrades you decline, the things you don't buy. Wealth is what you don't see. Assets quietly compounding in the background while everyone else performs success on credit. The next time you feel the urge to buy something expensive just because it's expensive, pause and ask one simple question. If I were the last person on earth, would I still want this? If the answer is no, you're not buying utility. You're buying a signal. And signals are expensive. Thorstein Veblen showed us that we're primates obsessed with shiny objects. But unlike peacocks, we can override the instinct. We can choose compounding over consumption, freedom over approval, peace over performance. The most impressive signal you can send isn't on your wrist or in your driveway. It's calm. It's optionality. It's knowing you don't need to prove anything. If this video made you rethink your next purchase, hit like. If you want more breakdowns on money, psychology, and invisible wealth, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.